Hey, hey, welcome back, everybody. Good to have everybody in the building. Appreciate y'all for stopping by. We have a queen blessing us with her energy and presence today. But look, I got Rip, I got Slab, I got two goats with me. We hop off the plane and turn your town into Goat City. I got mints, got collectibles. They all so pretty. Won't stop with these hits. You would think we know Diddy. I got one touches two. Pet peeve, the car touched the flow before it touches you. I got a box to go convertible. This a Rip for two. Hobby class still in session. You're invited to the school. Got mags, but they don't shoot. You don't fast break, you don't hoop. I got more than a deli, more wax than eyebrows. Impulse winner, I don't bid, I buy now. Got my Great Saver Pro. If I think the card gon' jam when they sub, then they go. I got packages that touch down. That's how they scope. Clear the line, I'm in the rush now. I'm sending mo. Off the checklist, back at it again. Thank you, everybody. Like I said in the beginning, for tuning in. Off the checklist with Rip Pack and Slab. Tonight we have a real special guest, and it's crazy too. Slab Strong Card Killer. What's up with it? I see y'all in the building. I'm gonna knock over this speaker. I think this is gonna fall tonight. Remember, I predicted it. This speaker is gonna fall tonight. My guy Grader hooked this up, hooked the studio up. You feel me? So. Um, I got to make sure I take care of this. But somebody real special, real special is in the building, and it's crazy. A couple days ago, we had the goat Cindy Dick on, and it was, I think it's a year, almost a year to the date, where I actually put her name, or not her name, but I actually started trying to research and learn more about women and women's cards and women collectors at the same time. And coincidentally, today the guest that we have on, Miss Tanya, um, I met her just about a year ago too, via Clubhouse. You know what I mean? So it everything happens. It's crazy how everything's circling back right now. Here we are, almost a year to the date. I think it was. I wrote it down. Was it January 17th was, I believe, the date I met Miss Tanya, or at least I was on Clubhouse and we started going in the same rooms and engaging and creating rooms and things like that. So I'm real excited to have her on. Uh, she's just entered right now. There she go right there. So without further ado, I'm gonna bring on. I'm gonna bring her on right now. That button. Hey, what's going on, sis? What's going on? How you doing?
Hello, hello. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much, Pete, for letting me jump on your show. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you for jumping on here. This is an honor for me, for us, to have you on this platform. And like I say to everybody else, I'm sorry we didn't do this earlier, and give, you know what I mean, for real, because I just learned last week that my students even tap in and watch this show, and it's
They
crazy.
do.
Yeah, their attention span is crazy. They're watching an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours, and I'm like,
Oh my
what? Like,
gosh.
y'all actually watching and they're enjoying it and learning things. So it's so thank you for being here. 'Cause like I said, it's more than just me. It's more than just RPS. We feel this is for everybody. And as you
Of
know,
course. Yes, of course. Of course. And I just want to thank you and the whole RPS Rip Pack Slab for being on the forefront of what you all are doing as far as the music that you've been doing in the hobby, and then also what you have been bringing far as inclusion and diversity. And I am a direct product of that. I don't think that a lot of people know our backstory, that we've met on an app,
yeah.
on a Clubhouse app. And you you and like so many others have pushed for people of color being in the hobby, also women being in the hobby, and you have embraced that so much and you have taken that platform to the next level. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you for them flowers, Tanya. I was saying that before I brought you on. It's almost a year to the date where we started having those conversations on Clubhouse. It was January 2021.
Right. Correct.
That's
Absolutely right.
crazy. Right? And here we are almost a year to the date. And I just checked that today, literally maybe 30 minutes ago. I said, I wonder when, let me go look at these. Cause I used to screenshot the conversations we would have, the titles. Cause
Really?
oh yeah, no cap. Because I used to know this day would come when the hobby would be on the same stuff that they didn't want to talk about when we were in those rooms. But
Right.
yeah, oh yeah, I used to screenshot them. Look. It's no cap.
You chronicled everything.
I
Like,
because I know these things. You know what I mean? Just the titles and the things we used to have and talk about. Just little, you know what I'm saying?
oh,
Little things.
right. Yes. All
Yeah,
of when we were
women
all
in
in the
wax.
rooms.
Yeah,
But yeah, so also congratulations. Well, first I want to say Happy New Year. We made it another year. So that's something definitely to be celebrated. And also the Mint Collective car expose that you were well still are going to be performing on. I just want to say, for sure, congratulations on that.
thank you, and shout out to Alex and Louise over at One Mint and Casino over there for pushing that and making sure they're advocating for us in that space as well too. Because I feel like for them to really be pushing that line to have, you know, not just people of color but black people, you know what I mean, on
Absolutely.
their, you know what I'm saying, on the front of what they got going on. It's special. We wish there were more, but we got to start somewhere. You know what I
We
mean?
do.
And
Hey,
we
we
have to.
do.
And I'm trying to humble myself and learn from myself. Like I'm not going to expect anybody to do anything that I'm not doing or that I can't do myself. Right? That's not what they were
Absolutely.
supposed to do. So maybe this is what we were supposed to do in some shape, form, or fashion. So that's why we here today. And speaking of being here today, it's the opening question, and this is probably the same question I asked you a year ago today,
Yes.
and I think I remember the answer, and it's probably cheating because I know you a little bit better
It might
since
have
then.
changed
It
though,
might have
B. It might
changed.
have
It
changed,
might have
right?
changed. So I'm gonna say, just so you can give multiple people flowers if you like. I believe when I asked you the trading card question, who would you put on a trading card? This was about a year ago today, maybe
Yeah.
340 days, if not a year, right? And I believe you put moms on there. I
I
believe it was mom.
did.
Yeah,
I did. I put my mom, my dad, of course. I mean, come on. Like if
yeah.
they weren't here, then I wouldn't be here, of course.
Facts.
But also my sister. I want to put my sister on a card this time because this whole entire time that I have been collecting in the hobby, if it was not for my sister who bought that Topps Chrome Formula One box for me for my birthday, I would not have the Sir Lewis Hamilton card. So I definitely got to give my sister all the flowers. She's the dopest sister in the world, and I love her so much. My kids, of course, I have two boys. I love them dearly. And as far as people that I don't know that I would love to meet, it has to be Dr. Cyan Proctor. For people who don't know who she is the first African American woman to pilot a spacecraft. Spacecraft. And I had actually got one of her signed pre-flight patches. I did a video on it. It's on my Instagram. I'm the super nerd. I don't care.
And what's her name again? Can you repeat her name again?
Dr. Cyan Proctor.
Okay.
Yeah, she was on the what is it? The countdown to gosh, I'm so terrible with names and
That's why I had to write it
but
down.
okay, yeah. So it's a Netflix movie
Uh-huh.
and she basically went up. SpaceX put a rocket in space and it was Inspiration 4. Yes, it was countdown to Inspiration 4 and she was one of the 4 people that actually went on this space traveling mission to raise money for St. Jude. And for people who don't know what the organization St. Jude is, it's a children's hospital. They treat children with cancer and everything is basically free. It's paid for. And with them going up in space, they exceeded their goals and expectations of donation. And she is beautiful. She's Black. She is a pilot. She has her piloting license and she is officially an astronaut, a civilian astronaut. So now that has opened up space discovery, and then you don't have to, be necessarily a quote unquote astronaut that's gone through military training or a whole bunch of schooling. You can actually be a civilian and go into space.
Right. So let's stick on Cyan. That's her name, right? Yeah. Let's
Yes,
stick on her
Dr.
for a moment.
Cyan Proctor.
Dr.
Yeah.
Cyan. When you see this Netflix special and when you read about her and you hear her stories, what are the feelings and emotions that come to you? Because I saw the smile. Like
Yeah.
you gave the same smile when you talked about your mom and you talked about your sister. You know what I mean? Is that like what kind of feelings and emotions come to you?
So, feelings and emotions that come to me is realizing that there are going to be a million doors shut in your face. You only need one to kind of creak open, and you put your pinky in and you push it open. And she represented to me progress. She represented to me tenacity because she did go out for the NASA program, but she didn't get in. And her father actually helped guide Neil Armstrong's space rocket back to Earth. So
Wow.
it was in her family. And actually, her Neil Armstrong wrote a note to her dad, and she had it and she took it up in space. So it was just
Wow.
her story of um, you know, just overcoming and doing what she thought was impossible. And to me, stories like that resonate with me because that's how we all need to be. Uh, a lot of times, me being a Black woman, I feel that I'm not easily, accepted in spaces. And, you know, what me and also my counterparts from Women Watching Sports Live, we basically carved out a section in Formula One and said, hey, we're going to put our flag here. And whoever wants to join us on this journey, please do. It's going to be fun, and it has been. And I'm so happy I met people from all over the world. But she is a constant inspiration to me for wanting to push forward, and never giving up, no matter what I do, no matter what age, education, someone telling you that I can't accomplish something. It just pushes me to want to accomplish it more.
I love that. I love that. And I love that you mentioned women watching sports because that's another group that I met about a year ago, a group of beautiful young ladies that I met a year ago, queens and things of that nature. And man, y'all mark territory everywhere. It's not just F1. It's like
Yes,
where we needed or what do you want to learn about? And it's just so
correct.
we'll get to that. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. I wrote it down so I can get back
Okay.
to it. But I want to stay on you, right? You talked about those feelings and emotions, and then you talked about your family. I want to take it all the way back for those people who don't know who you are, wherever you want to start from, as far as your upbringing, where you're from, you know what I'm saying, growing up, what was childhood like, and things like that, leading up until your first hobby. Doesn't necessarily have to be
Hobby.
cards. Doesn't necessarily have to be
Okay.
cards. Just any type of hobby.
So I was born in California in the early 80s. And my dad was in the Navy, and we traveled around with him everywhere he went. So we ended up in Spain, we ended up in Italy, we ended up in Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, we ended up Ohio, and every place in between. And it wasn't until I can remember as a child that I was a tomboy. I surfed, I did skateboards, I did ollies, and I was, brave enough to do the half pipe, and it didn't work
Okay.
out really well the first couple times. But um, I used to put the the trading cards in the spokes of my tires
What?
when I used to live in California.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I didn't. I always knew of trading cards, but it wasn't until maybe like during the pandemic that I actually started collecting. So, but when I was in Italy, that was the first time I ever gone to a go kart track and
Mm-hmm.
actually got in a go kart and drove it. And I loved it ever since. And I have done like things, well, as far as me being an adult, scuba diving. I have driven an Audi R8 around a racetrack. And
Okay.
during the pandemic, I was at home. I was laid off because I am a dental hygienist by trade. And of course, the pandemic sent us all home. And I was listening to a podcast, the Emballers podcast. and he was speaking about trading cards. And I kind of ignored it at first. And then he just kept pressing about it, pressing about it, pressing about it. So then I went on Tops and I looked at all of the cards. And when I started seeing that these were like 20 iconic baseball players, you start seeing, Willie Mays, you see Mr. November, Derek Jeter, and you see all of these different artists like Mr. Cartoon, King Saladin, Don C. I always have collected art, not expensive art, but I've always collected art. And when I saw these cards, and I'm like, there's no way I'll ever get a tattoo by Mr. Cartoon. It just won't happen. And I said to myself, but that would be so cool to actually have something that he actually sketched and he made. So those are the reasons why I collected the Tops 20, the Project 2020. And it just so happened to coincide with Formula One, Tops getting the license to make Formula One trading cards. And for those who don't know me, I am an avid Formula One watcher. I have been for some time now. And I had the opportunity to be able to collect all of the amazing drivers from 2020 in Formula One.
Yeah, I remember that. Didn't that happen last year, right? When Tops got that
Correct.
license? Because they didn't have it when we met. And then I remember sometime during that period, it happened. And then because you were talking about it way before they even announced it. You people,
Yeah.
I have to say this because I don't think I said it in the introduction. And I have to be very clear because there's at least a handful of women who mentioned a name or a sport or an area. All right. And immediately after that, the rest of the hobby took it and ran with it. And this
Right.
woman that we have in front of us tonight, no one was talking about F1. No, we were all in there saying, I was one of the guys saying, what is F1? I was a guy saying, you know what? No, I'm going to be on mute today. And I just want to sit back and learn. If I have a question, I'll ask. Right. But no one was talking about it. Right. And there was a lot of other areas and things, or a few other things that were brought up that lit the hobby on fire, that took the hobby by storm. But it feels like F1 is one of the ones that not only has stuck during the time, but I mean, it's here and people still love it, right? By the masses, and more people are starting to love it and value it. And I believe that's because of you, not because of you just mentioned it, but listen, not because of you mentioning it. And this is the importance of telling stories and why. Because anybody who are in these rooms, they'll know. They know. You were teaching us the why behind it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, you were giving us the X and O's and what this means when we had questions, but you let us know why it was special to you. When you brought up Sir Lewis Hamilton, you brought up his father, you brought up history, you brought up just a whole bunch of other things that made the story and the value. I feel like it made people look forward to it. And this is before we even knew cars were coming out. We were like, okay, well, there's a race happening this day. Y'all should watch that. Okay, all right, fine. And then Women with Sports will be like, all right, we'll start a room. We're gonna watch it together. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like if it wasn't so, they did have the Tops Now cars for Formula One when I met you guys in Clubhouse. That's actually the reason why I got onto Clubhouse. One, I was looking for a trading card community because I wanted to know who else was was collecting these cards. And I did find a group on Facebook. And I was like, but I really want to talk to somebody. I'm not with the typewriter and all the typing and stuff like that. So when I got on a Clubhouse, there were people like, what is she talking about? And it was the select few like you that actually stayed in the room because I am a major Lewis Hamilton fan. I love Lewis Hamilton. I love all the other drivers. The first driver's card that I actually collected was Pierre Gasly when he won at Monza. And from there, I collected all of the series for 2020. But then that's when they started dropping other series out. Like they came out with the Tops Chrome, came out with the Sapphire, the Dynasty, which Dynasty was a little bit out of my pocket, my wheelhouse, but it was still exciting to really watch. But what I noticed when people were actually opening up the Dynasty stateside, they couldn't pronounce the drivers' names. And I was like, what in the heck? Like they only knew Hamilton. They only wanted to find a Hamilton. And there were so many others that have done extraordinary things in Formula One. Like, Sebastian Vettel, he's a world champion. Also, Fernando Alonso, Kimi Räikkönen, which he just recently retired. But there were other world champions. But it just seemed like they only knew Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen, of course, because he is now the world champion. So it was just going back, telling the story of Lewis Hamilton, because for one, Formula One, it's not, I would say, you have to have money in order to be able to compete, to be in karting, to be able to move up through the whole Formula series, whether it's like Formula 2, going into Formula 1 and whatnot. And Lewis Hamilton and his father, he started out racing cars. I think he was like 5 or 6 years old, like the remote control cars. And he was beating everybody.
So when you say you have to have money, what do you mean exactly? Like, why do you have to have money to be a part of that sport? Because so I played basketball. I couldn't go buy a $20 piece of equipment, like a $20 basketball, and start doing F1. It didn't work like that, like it did for
Didn't
basketball.
work like that, because you're like the go-kart, you have to be able to pay for all the components, the tires, some, depending on how much you have like a mechanic that works on it. And then you have to travel, and all that costs. Like, you have to pay for lodging, you have to pay to enter the races, you have to pay for all of like the gear that you need to race safely. It adds up very quickly, very quickly.
Right. Yeah, no, I can imagine that, because even my son's baseball, he's only 6, and that thing adds up quickly when it comes to registration, and then all the pieces of equipment he needs, and then you got to buy snacks every other week for the whole team.
And you have to practice. You have to practice.
Yeah.
So it takes up a lot of resources, and nowadays, like, kids, they are able to get like sponsorships and things like that. But Lewis Hamilton's dad, he worked like, 2 and 3 jobs just to keep him racing. And there were times where he couldn't compete because his dad just didn't have the money. And there were times like Lewis Hamilton's dad would go to work all day, come back, and like literally work in the garage on the go-kart like all night, and then get up and go to work the next day. So to me, that was a story in itself that showed how important and how present these Black fathers are. And I don't think that is seen a whole lot still. Everybody
it's not the narrative. Like it's not the narrative.
It's not. And everybody doesn't have like the perfect cookie cutter, households. And for them to actually show a Black man actually, being there every day and night for his son, and stick with him this whole entire time, to me, that resonated with me, because that was what my dad was for me and my siblings. Even all the way down to, and I will say this for the record, you asked me who should be on a trading card, and I talked about Dr. Sian Proctor. I would also like to add Mr. Hamilton, Lewis Hamilton's father.
Okay.
Because he is, and then on top of Mr. King Richard himself, right? Right. Venus and Serena's dad.
Right.
These Black men, and even you, Pete, the way that the influence and we need it in our community so much. And not all of us have dads, but just having a positive male figure in your life, it can change you leaps and bounds. It can help you be pushed in, a whole totally different trajectory just by having a Black male figure, being a little Black kid, behind you, like, hey, I support you. I listen to you. You are good enough. You can do this. And I'm going to stick behind you and push you until, you get there. And so Lewis Hamilton, my part, because I'm a Lewis Hamilton fan, unfortunately, he did lose the world championship, drivers championship. Mercedes won the constructors championship. But it was the humility that Mr. Hamilton displayed to his son, because at that point, his son was really hurting. But then also he went to Max Verstappen and his father, and he congratulated them, even when they weren't on the best of terms. You know,
Right.
I'm not even going to get into all that, but it just shows how upstanding this man is and what type of values that he even instilled in Lewis Hamilton. So definitely, Mr. Hamilton, he gets a card for me too.
Yeah. And that was part of the reason why we fell in love with him, because you named all of the things that Sir Lewis Hamilton was doing in the community, things he was an advocate, things he was advocating for, and people he was advocating for. And then not only was he talking it, he was living it at the same time, right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, he has. So I just want to take a step back a little bit
Mm-hmm.
and talk about you introducing me to the ladies and women watching sports live, because it's all relative, right?
It is. It is. Yeah.
So you introduced me to those young ladies, Martha, Tashari, Dion, and
Hey.
Ashley.
Hey.
Yes, we have been able to speak to so many people of color that are in motorsport that we had no idea. I'm talking about women who drag race motorcycles.
You see, and that's the beautiful
Yes.
thing. See,
Yes.
me, when I'm ignorant at first, and I'm happy I always come out and say is I think just without thought, without thinking, I say it doesn't exist. Like, we don't have any black people in the hobby. There aren't any women in the hobby. Women don't do this or men don't do that. No, we just don't know. We just don't know where they are. They
We
do
don't.
it, right?
Shout out to Destiny Spurlock.
Uh-huh.
She is a drag racer. She drag races motorcycles. And she is
Wow.
such an extraordinary person. And then we also had to meet Stephanie Travers. She is a Mercedes AMG Petronas trackside fluid engineer for Team Mercedes. And also James Denor, he also works for Mercedes. So Lewis Hamilton, he came out with the Hamilton Commission, and basically in the UK, and what I ignorantly didn't know is that they experience the same adversity that we do as being Black people in America. As far as, you know, now we have teachers that look like us, but like 10 to 15 years ago, we didn't. We didn't have a lot of like role models other than like
Right.
Oprah, you
Right.
know? And even like our doctors and lawyers, like, you know, it was very far and few between. Well, Lewis Hamilton also saw those gaps, you know, when he was growing up as well, more in the aspects of engineering.
Mm.
And he had did a complete and utter like a study of motorsport and trying to figure out why is it that there aren't more people of color in motorsport in the UK. And he broke it all the way down to grade school, basically. And now he's starting to do all this talking, and hopefully what he wants to see, and I don't know because I haven't really like did my research on it, but hopefully they will start implementing more STEM programs for people of color in the UK. But I can speak on they are starting to do it here, of course.
Yeah.
So Formula One is coming to Miami in May, and it's Miami Gardens area, which is it's underserved compared to the other greater Miami areas. So what Formula One did, they partnered with the schools and of Miami Gardens, and now they have STEM programs kind of circling around Formula One in Miami Gardens. So, and then also for the GP, they are going to be having a lot of the vendors there. They're going to be, you know, minority business owners. So they're actually taking a lot of steps to make sure that diversity and inclusion really is happening.
That's beautiful. I could just imagine the kids, the community that's going to be able to experience that, and the impact it's going to have on them, the things it's going to open up. And
Of
even if it
course.
just saves one life, even if one child leaves from there and becomes something they want to become, it was worth it. So I love hearing that. I want to give the people in the room a shout out real quick who stopped by
Of
to
course.
say what's up.
Thank
There's been
you.
a whole
Who's
bunch of
here?
people jumping in and out. Slab Strong, our guy Tim,
Oh,
favorite person to
hey.
learn from. Tim was on the checklist, off the checklist not too long ago. Shout out our guy
Hey,
Tim.
Tim. What's up?
What's up? What's up? Oh, that was me replying to Tim because Tim was here early. Tim came to class early. He said that at like 6:55.
Oh, we
Yeah,
did. Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
that was early. So, Card Killer, I got Card Killer's in the room. The GOAT himself, Card Killer, always stops by. He's on East Coast time too. Everybody in here, I think, is on East Coast time. Shout out y'all for
Nice.
stopping
Thank you
by.
for hanging with us. Thank you so much.
Jake's in the room. Oh yeah, she's the one in F1 for real. For real, the female
Thank you,
one.
Jake.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Card culture and meeting
Hey,
Ken in the building.
hey.
Yeah.
Hey, you too. How are you doing? Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Shout out to meeting Ken. And then, Tim again had to double back on it, the queen.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
And take all of it. Take all of it. All right. So what I want to get to next. We talked about your upbringing, right?
Mhm.
I kind of want to get into what you do. You said you're a dentist, right?
Hygienist.
Hygienist. Why is it
It's
not dentist?
okay.
No, why is it not called a dentist?
Okay.
Yeah, break it
So
down for
as
me.
far as all right. So a little bit about my educational journey and career. I
Okay.
started out cleaning instruments at a dental office for the summer when I was 19 years old. And they ended up keeping me and retaining me and training me to become a dental assistant.
Was this a
And
passion of yours, or is this something a job that
well,
like why can you
yes.
talk about like why you just said I just started doing it, like you woke up and just started doing it? Like,
So actually, when I was in high school, I was in NJROTC, and that is basically it's what is it? National Reserves Officer Training Corps.
okay.
So we had like a lot of like military classes that we took. We even did military cruises. We did all that stuff. We wore uniforms and stuff like that a couple of days a week. We drilled. It was cool.
Okay.
And I wanted to go into the Air Force. And my best friend at the time, she was going into the Air Force too. And she was like, hey, we should be dental techs together. I'm like, yeah, cool. We should be dental techs. But I found out that I was having a baby right when I was about to graduate high school. My oldest son, he's 21 now.
Just
So
turned
instead of
21, right?
just turned 21. Yeah.
Happy birthday. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So
So y'all got
I,
almost the same birthday, because didn't you just turn
yes,
21 too?
I
Yeah.
did for
Yeah.
like 21
Yeah.
times. No. So
Okay.
his birthday is December 19th and mine's Christmas Eve. So yes,
Okay.
we both celebrated birthdays.
Okay.
Of course, they are upstairs playing now. You probably hear them. But so I actually ended up staying. I didn't go into the Air Force like I intended to. So I ended up doing the track of actually going to a dental assisting school. So I did that. So after that, okay, now I know I'm telling my age now because I went through newspaper ads. There was no Indeed, there was no LinkedIn, there was no Google, Facebook, there was no nothing. Like you legit got the paper and you would take a pen and circle the
Circle.
ads
That's
for
how I got my
jobs.
first job. Yep. Cutco
See?
selling knives out the newspaper. Yep.
Exactly. Out the
Classified. Yep.
newspaper.
Yep. Moms wasn't having it. Yep.
So I was like, I gotta get a job, right? And so I did, and I ended up working at this dental office. They said, look, we're only looking for summer employment. We're really busy, clean the chairs, sterilize the instruments, do stock orders, things like that. And I loved it. I was like, wow, like this is great. And, I always think like, look, this is my foot in the door. If I do extremely well, then maybe they'll keep me. And that's ended up what happened. And I went from sterilizing the chairs to becoming an actual chairside dental assistant. And then I became a orthodontic assistant, which it takes like a year or two to be able to train to do that now. So I did that, and it was a doctor that I worked for, amazing, extraordinary person. And one thing I do want to say that I hope someone would take away from this is that oftentimes we look at certain individuals to be able to guide us. What you have to also keep in mind too is that the person that you least expect that believes in you, when they show up, please listen to what they have to say. Because this man, my employer, and I'm going to say his name is Dr. Barney.
Dr.
If it was
Barney?
not, yes, Dr. Barney.
Okay.
If it was not for him, I would have never went back. Never would have went back to college.
Why?
I wouldn't.
Why? What did he make you feel like? What?
So,
Why? Tell us the story. Break it down.
so as a single mom,
Uh-huh.
I was working, and back then, newspaper ad days, we didn't make a lot of money as being a dental assistant. And I remember one day I was just like fretting. I was like, oh my gosh, like it's just expensive to live. I'm a teen mom. I have to take care of this child, and I'm only working here. And look, these dollars are not adding up to what I need to be paying for. So he just looked at me. He said, you know what, Tanya? He said, if you want to have a better life, you need to go back to school. And I was like, well, I went to dental assistant school. What is he talking about? And he was like, no, you need to go to school. You need to go to college. And I'm like, well, dude, I was like, what am I going to do? Like, I'm sitting up here like, what am I do? Basket weaving? What am I going to do? He was like, go back to school and be a dental hygienist. Go do something. Get out of here. And it's a running joke with him and I that he literally fired me like 3 times.
To make you go to
fired me
school.
3 times. He was like, go to school. Get out. Go to school. And I used to moonlight. Like, I had like so many jobs. I like legit like had so many jobs. I was a bartender at a bar. I was a waitress. I did co-check. It's like I met some really cool people, but I did that to help supplement my income. So I finally took his advice and I went to JC. I went to junior college, and it was right around the time I moved to Baltimore, and I finished my 2-year degree. And I was like, oh, shoot, I should be a dentist. So what I did was I took a lot of prerequisites to actually go to dental school. I did biochemistry in the summer. I don't recommend anybody does that. If you're in college, don't do biochemistry in the summer. You will die.
Not in the summer? Not in the summer?
Not in the summer. Not in
Okay.
summer. Do it in the fall or spring, but not in the summer. So I took a lot of the prerequisites for dental school. And I applied to the University of Maryland for dental hygiene, which they had a dental school. They were together. And then I applied to Old Dominion University. Well, at the time, the situation that I was in, it just really wasn't working out. And I had to move back to Virginia. And my mom was like, hey, I'll help you with, my little big person now. Right. So I ended up coming back here. And I ended up finishing junior college here at a community college, and I got into Old Dominion University. I was only one. I think there were over like 40 dental hygiene students in my class. I was one of 6 Black women who graduated from dental hygiene, Old Dominion University class of 2014. And we stuck together. We did everything together. We studied together. We had clinic together. We argued together. We shared patients. We helped each other get ready and help with x-rays for our board exams. And we did all that. And what I notice about dentistry in general, it's very conservative. Not a lot of people of color. I would say a lot of people of color are starting to emerge into the dental field now, maybe in the last 5 or 10 years. But when I started out, I was just maybe one of 2, or maybe sometimes you would go in and I was the only assistant that looked like me, to be honest.
Right.
I was very grateful though that the doctor I did work for, he loved diversity. All the women that I work with, they were very diverse, and I learned a lot. But it wasn't until I graduated hygiene school and started working as a dental hygienist how important I saw that my education was. I thought that it was so important. I had my other son in 2015, and I had him in July, and I enrolled to get my MBA in August.
So you just be waiting till you have kids to go back to school, huh?
Right. Yeah. Come on, just pile it on even more. Come on, just throw it all at me. I don't care.
The whole challenge, huh?
Yeah. So I literally had a full-time job, an older son that at that point, I think he was driving by then, a newborn baby, and I was getting my MBA. So it was pretty intense, but I slow rolled it though. I didn't go the 18, 24 months. It took me a little while to get there, but I did. So anybody out there, come on, you can do it too. It doesn't matter
Right.
if you take 5 years, 6 years, just be consistent and just keep going. And so yeah, I got my MBA, and I still now, practice as a dental hygienist, but it was right around the time like COVID hit. And my dad, he had gotten really sick. He ended up, with cancer, and I moved him into my home and I took care of him. So it was like
Mm.
MBA, take care of dad. And I
Right.
did that. And I still, continued to go to school, finished. And I still wasn't done with my educational journey. I just felt like I wasn't finished. I was like, you know what? When I go out here and I want to start a new career post being a registered dental hygienist, I don't want anybody to tell me that I'm not qualified based on
Mm.
education.
Right.
And a lot of people have their opinions on that. Totally cool. But I'm the type of person that I would rather have more than less trying to ask somebody for something. Okay. So I applied to Eastern Virginia Medical School for my PhD. And I was so gracious that they did accept me. And I am currently pursuing my PhD now at Eastern Virginia Medical School,
Well,
EVMS in Norfolk.
so, but no baby on the way.
No, oh
Oh,
my
okay,
God.
okay.
Oh
I
my,
know.
wait, hold on, wait.
I'm just making sure because the last time she went back to school, there was a baby. I'm just making sure. Okay, so all right, so things are changing.
No,
Okay.
no, no. I thought you were gonna say like, is your husband on the way? I'm like,
Oh,
is he really?
is
Where?
he? Maybe. Yep.
I don't
Yep.
know.
He
Where
is.
is
You
he?
never know. You never know.
But yeah. So then I fell into Clubhouse, of course, and I met you, and I met the women watching sports live, and then it just morphed into like just so much more. Now it's like I'm speaking to people from all over the world, and one thing that we have in common is that we love cars that go fast. We love Formula One. So these weekly rooms that we have during race weekends have been extraordinary. Extraordinary. I mean, we have people that wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning because they're like in California just to watch the race with us. Because they're like, they easily could put it on their DVR and watch it when they get up. But no,
Right.
they don't want to do that. So I love my job being a dental hygienist. Just for you, Pete, to tell you that usually the tier system of dentistry is usually like a sterilization tech, then it transitions to a assistant,
Mhm.
and then a dental hygienist, and we sit right below the doctor. So if
All
I would have
one
went to
team though.
school,
All one
yeah,
team though.
yes,
Yeah. Yep.
absolutely.
Yep.
Front desk people, listen, that being a part
Front
of a
desk.
dental office,
Ooh.
yes, the
Yeah.
front desk, insurance, marketing, office managers, like if it was, and then like, gosh, if you're a specialist, the team that you work with, like a surgical team or, a doctor that does braces, to me, it's like legit. Like I can compare it to like Formula One, like seriously,
No, you
because
can. You
if
really
there's one
can.
chink in
It's
the
the same thing in the
armor,
school. It's the same thing. No, I know all
yeah,
about it in the professional realm. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
it's like if there's one chink in the armor, it's like a domino effect. Everything
Yeah.
goes down. So I feel that when you put leaders in spots like that, very good leaders, that is what can make and definitely break a team for sure. And I've seen it in Formula One, but I've also seen it in dentistry as well. So it all is relative. It really is. And just everything that I've learned as far as being in such a close knit, because you are dental office, you are like close. You get really close to people. Sometimes you spend more time with the people that you work with versus like your own family at that point,
Mm.
if you work a
Mhm.
lot. But I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. One of the best things I like about being a dental hygienist is people, is my patients that I see. I love that every like 4 to 6 months that they come in, they tell me about like their dog, their cat, their wife, their spouse, their kids,
Yeah.
or if they're younger, watching them grow up, going through grade school, going to college, graduating college, getting their first job out of college, getting married, having a kid. Like I've gone through like all of those different parts of people's lives and have been involved in it. It's just utterly amazing.
Shout out to everybody in that field. And I know you can relate to this as a parent. Man, my first time, it was my first. It wasn't my first time. My first time taking my daughter because it was different for some reason with my boys. It was easier. It was still. hard, but it was easier for some reason. But when I took my daughter in, I think she was only 3, to get her first
Oh,
teeth pulled, and they had to put her under. But the
yeah.
team there made me feel so comfortable. And then, like, when we go back, the way the relationship and the rapport they have with her, that makes me cry tears of joy and not tears of fear. You know what
That's
I mean?
right.
So, and that's what, but I've been in dental offices where that wasn't the case, where I went in there and
Mhm.
I felt like my child safety wasn't. They didn't make me feel secure. They didn't make me feel comfortable. I was like, nope, y'all not doing anything to my my
That's
children here.
right.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
Yeah. So on that, and I want to ask you this: another thing about feeling. How does it feel in your line of work to have your son drive himself to his own appointment? like, like what? Like, that's like me working at a school and my son driving himself to school and not coming to work with me.
It
Like, hold
is.
on, bro. You could have rolled with me. Like, why did
So my oldest son, he is
uh-huh.
so independent. He has been ever since he was smaller, because just another aspect of being like a single mom, which
Right.
when I lived in Maryland, I was married, but he worked out of the country.
Uh-huh.
So it was like I was a single mom
Uh-huh.
basically. But my oldest son, he was a latchkey kid. And I don't even, do latchkey kids even exist anymore? I don't know. Can you get arrested for that? I don't know. But we were latchkey kids too.
Right.
Come home when the street lights come on. But he, he would come in, he would put his books down, he would start his homework, and I literally got home maybe like 20 minutes after he did, and we would sit there together and we would do our homework. I was in college, he was in grade school, and we would do it together. So he's always had a sense of independence, working. Gosh, he's at a lemonade stand. He was to a lemonade
What?
stand. I kind of feel guilty that I didn't get him in card collecting, because he probably would have been flipping cards when he was like 7. you know, he just has that very like entrepreneurial spirit about him. Even during the pandemic, he took a job as a he did DoorDash.
Smart.
He was like, "Look, I want to help. I want to definitely help. I can't hear. Well, I can hear you now. I want to help, with people in the pandemic. He did grocery shopping for people. He went and picked up prescriptions for people. He, delivered food. He did all of that
Hmm.
during the pandemic. And when I got him his car, was I worried? No, I really wasn't worried, because he can really drive.
Mhm.
Like, I kind of wish like maybe I would have put him in karting and he could have been like Formula One. I'm not going to tell him that though. Because when he was 10 years old, I did a go-karting party for him when he was 10, and he
Wow.
loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. So yeah, maybe I should have put him in karting. He could have been in Formula One, like racing with Lewis Hamilton. I don't know.
Wow.
But yeah, so the first time that he did drive himself to the dental office, oh my gosh, I think that's on my Instagram too.
It
I
is.
was
It is.
dancing.
Yeah, I
I was
know it
dancing. I was
is.
so excited. I was like, yes, I don't have to do carpool. I don't have to do private practice. I don't have to be like, Mom, I left my lunch money. Oh, well, you go home and get it yourself, dude. So when your kids start driving, it's going to be very nerve-wracking in the beginning. It is. But you'll eventually, and now they have cell phones. Come on, Pete. When we were driving, what do we have? Did you
Let's
have a
see.
pager?
I had a pager. I had a pager back in the day. And then I
What
had a
color was
Nokia.
it? Wait, hold on. No. You can't get out of
Oh,
this one. What
what
color
color?
was
So I
it?
had 2 different. I remember I had I had several different ones. I'll keep it 100. So my first pager that my parents got me, I was a privilege in my own right. You know what I'm saying? My parents worked several jobs to be able to give us what well, not everything we wanted, but certain things. So I had my first pager. This had to be almost like 7th, 8th grade though, right?
What? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I didn't get my first page until I was like 9th.
The 7th, 8th grade, I had a pager. It was black. The first one they got me
Or
was
10th
black, but I was
grade.
like, I didn't want that. I went they right down the street from the school. There was a pager store where you can go get the case changed. So I went and got one of them see-through things. Where
Me
like,
too. Me
yeah, come
too.
on now. And then after that, you had a partner or a cousin that worked for the hospital, and you just got one of those hospital pagers that was unlimited for the rest of your life. Like I
See,
still got it. I bet if I put the battery in, it still works.
so wait, hold on. So are pagers collector items yet? Like, are they collector's items?
Somebody sold a picture of the first text message or first page something as an NFT for a ridiculous amount of money.
Oh
So
man,
I don't know if
stop
the actual
it.
item is, but the
With
picture
the
and
green
prototype for
screen.
sure. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but I think I had a phone. I think ninth grade was my first ninth, 10th grade. I had a phone, the Nokia, the Snake. The only game you had on there was Snake. You know what I mean? And then
Oh, right, 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 right,
remember,
right,
see,
right. Yeah,
see
yeah,
what
yeah,
kids
yeah,
don't know
yeah.
today. See, kids today, they on their phone all the time. We used to have to wait till after 9. Like, man, my minutes don't
Yes,
start till after 9. I can't use these minutes.
right, right. So I had, well, it was 10th grade because we didn't have page because I was living in Italy and I came back stateside when I think I was in like 10th grade. So when I came back, I got my first pager and it was see-through and it was purple. I
Okay.
loved it. Loved it. It
Okay.
was $10 a month.
Yeah. Yep. 9.99 flat.
Yep, nine
Yeah.
ninety nine a month. And so then my dad bought me my first flip phone. And it was the Motorola one. And you can like change the top of it from like silver to black.
So did y'all used to use pager code back in the day?
Yes, we did. I
I'm
would
just
tell
making
people
sure.
to go to hell all the time.
Yeah, okay, okay. I'm just making sure. Hey, because a lot of people want to understand that's the first text message. We used to use numbers for letters, and we used to have the whole alphabet memorized. And we call your pager and type punch a whole bunch of numbers, and you'd read it like it was words.
Right,
People
right.
don't understand that though.
We were so creative. So creative. Like you knew exactly who it was just by the message that they left you. You were like, oh yeah, that's my girl. I gotta call him back. Or oh, this is the guy. Yeah, he's crazy. I'm not calling him back.
Yeah.
Oh
Oh,
my gosh, those were the days, weren't they, Pete? Those were the days.
those were the
Pagers
days.
and green Motorola flip phones. And
Yep, that's
then
yeah, yep. Around that time, that was when see I was chasing those things, and the cards were second fiddle for me. That's what I
really,
yeah. That's when around eighth, ninth, because I had my traumatizing experience sixth, seventh grade with cards, where I invited everybody for a sleepover, and a whole
mm,
bunch of friends. Where's the camera? Friends stole my cards.
oh
And then from
no,
there, I became more of a discreet closet collector. You know what I mean? But I said my god brother always collected with me still. Um, but yeah, during that time it was pagers. I was trying to look cool to girls, and I didn't think cards look cool to girls. You know what I mean? So I got to start playing sports.
right?
I need a pager. I got to be able to talk on the phone. I got to be able to go eat pizza with them. There's no time. In between there was always a card shop that me and my god brother would stop at on the same block. We were doing all those things,
Hey,
but
that you made it
yeah.
work, right?
So it was
Did
still a
you stick
part
your
of it.
pager in your boot when you were in school sometimes?
Yeah,
Because we
whatever
had
we
to
had to
hide
do.
ours. We couldn't like have it like out when we were in school. So like the guys, they wear like Timberland boots,
No,
and they
that's a
used
New
to.
York. That's a back east thing.
That
That's a
is
back east
okay.
thing.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
you're in California, but yeah, like here in Virginia,
yeah.
yeah, because we got a lot of people from New York. They would stick their pager in their Timberland boot.
Nah, I don't know how we used to tuck ours. We tucked it somewhere there. A meeting kid wanted to say bye. They taking
Bye.
off.
Thank you
Appreciate
so
y'all.
much.
Love what you collect is in the building. Thank you for being in here,
Oh
showing
yes,
love.
Queen.
The
How are
queen
you,
in the
Queen?
building. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, man. Them was the good old days too. And then I remember being on the phone in my room. I also had one of those landlines that was see through when it light up when you call. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes,
And
yes.
you have to put the ringer on silent. You know what I mean? Because I was privileged in my own right. My
Uh
parents weren't the
huh.
wealthiest. Both my parents worked several jobs. I went to a private school, but they worked several jobs to be able to do that. But came
That's
with
what
that
we
with the
do.
stuff that other kids didn't have. That when I was a kid, I didn't know. I thought every kid had their own phone number landline. You know what I'm
Right,
saying? I thought
right.
once you hit sixth, seventh grade, you get your own landline. I
No,
didn't know. I
you
thought
were
everybody got a lunch to
yeah,
school. I didn't, but see, that's how like you said, latched in I was to my family. You know what I mean? I just
right,
thought everybody had what I had because I went to a school where everybody looked like they had. And it wasn't
right.
until I met my god brother who came to our school and didn't grow up with the same things that I grew up with. I'm like, man, you
Mhm.
don't have, and then open my eyes. And then really when I started working with kids when I was 18, and then it really all the things that I've been programmed to think and all the narratives that I have believed were like, oh wow, this is not even the case, really. You know what
Isn't
I
that
mean?
something? And but that I call that definitely a life experience,
Yeah.
and you're definitely going to take that into how you are as an adult. And I'm so happy that you never, no matter what happened to you, never lost the card collecting. about you. Because oftentimes when you do have peer pressure like that, or you're made fun of, or somebody, like does something devastating like that, you walk away from it and you never go back.
Yep.
So like hats off to you for being able to still continue to collect cards, because if you didn't, we probably wouldn't even be talking today. But it was the same way for me. There were a lot of things that I was interested in that my friends weren't necessarily interested in. Like, gosh, you could take anything, music for once. Music for one thing. When I came back here to Virginia, it was like, I don't know. Who can I say? Like, Pharrell, Neptunes, like that whole entire thing, Teddy Riley, like all of those people were coming in with their own music, but I was still listening to like Pearl Jam and Nirvana and and like Yellow Card, and I was like listening like to all of those songs, and my friends look at me like, "What are you doing?" So I kind of had to like hide that whole aspect too about me, the things that I did like. And also like some of my friends, like I had friends that like, they were the name has changed, but they were like gothic. They had like
Yeah.
all like they wore like the black,
Mm-hmm.
all the black and stuff. They're like, God, why are you talking to them? They look crazy. I said, they're so nice though. They're my friends. They're like, shut up,
Right.
Tanya. Everybody's your friend. I was like, we're in math class together. Stop it. But it was, I've always been drawn to people, not necessarily like the way that they look or even like what they have. It's all about the experiences and what I'd like to learn. I want to learn something new like every day. I do. I don't even know like how it's like, is my brain still even growing brain cells at this point? Because it's probably packed to capacity. But I always just like to learn something different and something new. And so when I joined Clubhouse, it's like almost I went down a rabbit hole. I didn't know what a 1986 Jordan Fleer is. And if I hear it one more time, I'll probably scream. But I learned the importance and like the value in certain cards. And you take with that with you what you will.
Right.
But then I also learned even about hockey. Like there have been a
Me
couple of
too.
gentlemen that have been
Yeah.
in the hobby and they're talking about hockey. And the only reason I knew one hockey player's name is because I love Ferris Bueller Day Off. Like that's like one of my favorite movies.
That's a classic. That's a
Yeah, and
classic.
remember Cameron? He had what was that? How?
Classic.
What was the Detroit Red Wing?
What?
Was it How?
I don't
Howie?
remember. I
How?
don't remember. I don't
But
remember.
yeah, so he had that jersey on. So I asked one of the gentlemen, gosh, and I'm so bad. I'm mispronouncing the name probably. But I asked him about that jersey. And then he went into the whole history of like how dope this hockey player actually was, and like, records and stuff that he's broken. It was like really, really cool. And even moving forward, we're starting to get into this new space of NFTs. Whether you're accepting of it or you're not, it's still coming, right?
It's here. It's
It's
here.
here.
It's
Yeah,
here.
it's like here. It's not going anywhere. At this point, they're about to probably start putting a whole bunch of medical records and stuff on NFTs, but they're not going to tell us till like 5 years later. But still,
Facts. Facts.
yeah. But now we have to constantly evolve. Now that the web 2 is going into web 3, and I'm just figuring out what that is and what that's going to entail. But it's just the evolution of us being people, and we always have to be ready for that. But I will say, Pete, the good thing about the evolution of people is that you're starting to see more people like us emerge in these spaces.
Yeah. Yeah. We are. We are. We are. And it's such a refreshing feeling. It makes me feel good. And it makes the moments, not to say that I feel bad all the time. There's always been moments in the hobby when I'm surrounded by diversity and other people who make me feel good. You know what I mean? But to see it and feel it, you know what I mean? And know that it's just going to add value and add sustainability across several measures. That's the best feeling in the world right there. Because I could just imagine 20 years from now, the people that are, how more intelligent and how more savvy and innovative that creators and engineers or people are going to be in the hobby. You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
yeah, we're laying the groundwork. We're part of that
We're
history
closing
now.
that, and we're closing the gap.
Yeah.
Remember, like when we were younger, how big that gap used to be?
It used to be huge.
Now we're like just slowly closing it. And now, with my son being young, he's 6, and I'm thinking 20 years from now, like even like when he's in his 30s and 40s and whatnot, how much closer, hopefully that gap will continue to close. And we won't see, have to constantly like see. Because you know what? I don't know about you, but I'm tired of being the first. I am so tired. I had this conversation with with the ladies and women watching sports live. I am so tired of being the first. I'm so tired of being the only. I am so tired of that.
Yeah,
Like
that's what I
it's
was saying
it,
about that mint feeling. Like it feels so good. Like when shout out Alex and Louise because they make us feel so. Those Alex for people who don't know, Alex and
good.
Louise are part of the Mint Collective team and Collectible team who reached out to us. You know what I mean, and made that build that rapport, made us feel valued beyond compensation for going out there and doing whatever work that we're scheduled to do. Right? They made us
Right.
feel valued as people, and oh man, I just that it's so I almost lost track of thought just because I don't want to separate it. But what was you say? What was you just saying? I did lose track. You were talking about
About
what?
no, I was talking about the gap
The
closing.
gap closing. Yeah. Oh yeah. And how
Right.
you don't want to be the only one or the first.
Yeah, I'm done with
It
that.
felt good to
I
be
am so
yeah,
done with
it felt
that.
good to be invited and it feels good to be a part of the Mint Collective show. But as it starts to grow and like we're the only black faces we see, it's like, oh, like we have to yeah, it's just a start, but not to say it makes us mad or upset. It's like, okay, you know what? Now it's time to start the podcast or now it's time to start a show.
Right,
People just don't
right,
know. It's not like they just don't know we have people who can add value in the same exact way or in different ways. You know what I mean? So
right.
let's hopefully do this so then even if it's not our platform, maybe another platform will do the same thing or do something similar, and then just start connecting those electrical currents, the energy that's supposed to happen.
And lift it up. Of course. I mean, completely understand. That was the reason why we had started the Apex Takeover, our podcast, is because we wanted to. There were so many things, of course, with Lewis Hamilton and Formula One. They were talking about a lot of diversity and inclusion. But what I wasn't seeing and what Tashari and Martha weren't seeing, we weren't seeing a lot of Black girls in the United States. Like, where are they? That
Hmm.
enjoy Formula One. Where are they? And with us opening rooms, we found them. And we're like, wow.
Like they actually exist,
And
right?
they actually exist. And they are engineers and they're mothers and they're,
So many things.
they love the whole aspect of Formula One. But without Clubhouse, we wouldn't have been able to find them. Like, I mean, gosh, like, how? Facebook, Instagram, those platforms don't provide that reach that you need to bring people in and say, hey,
Right.
I'm here and I'm really open to have a conversation with you. And hey, let's do a lot of cool things together. Clubhouse to me, I mean, I really don't have a lot of experience in Twitter spaces, but for sure has been the catalyst to a lot of opportunities that I have been able to be a part of.
Yeah,
For
Clubhouse is
sure.
more intentional for sure about that direction. And whenever you want to learn something or engage with people, it's much more easier and it feels much more connected for sure. For sure.
Absolutely. And I am definitely coming to the Mint Collective because I want to
Hey.
support. It's like I was like looking forward to seeing like Sam because I know she's gonna be on the panel, like
Yeah. Shout out
your whole
Sam, women
team.
of the hobby, right?
Yes, women of the hobby. Like
Yeah.
I'm like so
See?
excited.
Yeah.
I was like, man, it was like Christmas morning when I kept seeing like on like their stories, like all the people carving. Like he's like a
Shout out
walking
Carver.
like
Yeah.
encyclopedia for the hobby.
Shout out Sam, woman of the hobby. I remember it was during that time where we were on Clubhouse heavy and we were trying to find women who were already advocates. I remember we at first it wasn't like that. At first we were trying to advocate for women and then a woman came in the room and said, "We don't need that. We're here. We just need to be found." And I said, "You know what? Thank you for that. I'm gonna step back now. I'm still gonna do what I do, but I'm gonna step back." That's one
Right,
of the things that you
right.
need to know because I was ignorant. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, of course.
Sam was one of
Because
the people that came that
you didn't
obviously was
know.
around way before I thought that it needed to be done. It's just
Mhm.
people needed to know who she was, and she's making it clear not only who she is, but who are a lot of that who women are in this space. You know what I mean? So shout out Sam for sure, for sure.
Absolutely. And gosh, that community of women that collect trading cards, I'm not going to say that it's grown because, like you said, we've always been there. But just for us to have a central like location to be able to get together and meet and have like that one,
That's
that one like
beautiful.
website or person that we kind of reach out to and be like, hey, are you going to be at this card show? Or are you going to be at that card show? And we can, as women, be able to like to meet up and ask each other questions, share our own collections. Like, I think that's great what Sam's doing, and I support it 1,010%, and I'm so proud of her. I really am.
Me too. Me too. Yeah, that's gonna go so far. It's gonna inspire so much. Just that representation right there. I could just imagine the creativity that's gonna come from that. It's gonna be
It
amazing.
is. It is. It
Amazing.
is. Like I keep just saying it over and over and over. 2022, I'm very excited because it was hard because we were kind of we were stumbling around trying to figure out like, exactly how can we get in? Where do we fit in? How does this work? How does that work? How do we get in touch with people? How do we form a community? And now that we've formed the communities, which I feel like I'm a part of like a few different ones and I like it. Now it's all about like growth and bringing other people into the fold and educating each other on what, you may know or I may know that the
Right.
other individual doesn't even know.
Right. Right. Nope. I like that. Yep. Yeah, I learn every day. Like I wouldn't have known. No, I'm not gonna say I wouldn't know what F1 is. I'm lying. A gentleman that I'm gonna be talking to in about an hour on here, Naka,
Uh-huh.
my guy Knock. He was probably the only other person in the world that I ever heard talk about F1. Because I just remember
Really?
he's been in our
Okay,
rooms because
good.
I remember when you started talking about it, Naka would be in the rooms and y'all two would be the only ones that would be able to be like y'all. I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, Knock talks this language. I don't know. And I remember when people started breaking and people didn't know the names of the racers or the drivers, and I could be like, "Come on, man, y'all got to do y'all research. Y'all got to study the game, man."
That's right. Come on. You
Yeah,
can't be messing up Antonio Giovinazzi's name, okay? Or Kimi Räikkönen's name. You can't do that anymore.
yeah. See, that's why I'm
For
gonna make sure I
sure.
learn. I'm gonna make sure I learn first.
Well, you got a few more because the grid has once again been shaken up. So we are just looking forward to it. Women Watching Sports Live, we are definitely planning a humongous room for the very first GP Grand Prix,
Hey,
and it's going to be spectacular. I don't want to give away the details. I think Tashari get mad at me, but
okay, okay. Stay
but it's
tuned though.
going to
Stay
be,
tuned.
yes, it's going
Okay.
to be amazing.
Okay, cool. All right. I have this is kind of off subject, but I'll tell you how I
Yeah.
was gonna get on subject. And of course, it's because I was going through your IGs and things, right? So there
Okay.
was a Mother's Day not too long ago. You spent time in St. Lucia. Is this correct?
Actually, that was before COVID. But
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah.
I did spend time in St. Lucia for Mother's Day. Yes, I did.
And how was that?
They are like you, Pete, because you're from St. Lucia.
Hey.
You thought I forgot. I did not forget.
So my dad, yep, our father from St. Lucia, yep.
And the people of St. Lucia are one of the okay. So how can I say this? How can I say this? Being being just a black woman, I'm speaking from my experience, not anybody else's, because not anybody else's skin but mine.
Speak your truth.
Yes. So being a black woman in America, you get so caught up in all of what we have to go through to, for one, be seen. Because that's, for me as a black woman, that's been a big issue for me. Like, gosh, okay, do you at least see me? I'm here. Don't look past me, say hello. But having that disconnect, and I could take it from anywhere. Disconnect from my brothers and sisters in Africa, disconnect from my brothers and sisters from the Caribbean, you know, disconnect from my people in the UK.
Mhm.
When I went to St. Lucia, for once I saw what it was like to actually see. And when I say village, it's just the term village.
No, I know exactly what
Everybody
you're
was
talking about. Yep,
brother and
yep,
sister,
yep.
and they cared about each other. They wanted to help each other. Like I remember we were trying to look for a post office, and there was this man out of nowhere. He's like, "No, my brother, it's over here." And we were kind of looking like, "What? Wait, we're not family." But everyone in St. Lucia, they treat each other just like family.
Yeah.
And even when we were in the resorts, they treated us like family. We went to the what was it? It was like the block party or something like
Carnival,
that.
Carnival.
No,
One
it's
of
not carnival, but it's like a block party that they have like every, like I think it was like Friday or Saturday night.
Fete. It was
And
a fete. It was a fete. Some
I
kind of
can't
fete.
I
Some kind of
can't
fete.
remember. Yeah,
What
I
time
can't
of year? Oh,
remember.
you were there for Mother's Day, so that was in M- Mother's Day's in
Yeah.
May, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So but it was actually the people that worked in the hotel. Cause see, like when I travel, right, I
Mhm.
don't ask other people that are in my hotel where they're going. I don't want to go where they go. There's tourist stuff. I always ask the people who actually work in the hotels
Who live
where to
there?
go. Yeah,
Yeah.
who live there. So one of the gentlemen, he was like, "Oh no, well, you could go to the party. It's like a block party. It's so much fun." And we were like, "Okay." He said, "Well, I'll take you." So we went with him and we ended up going like, to the downtown area. And we actually got to meet like the one of the gentlemen that were doing carvings was his uncle. Then someone else was like making like these really cool hats, and that was like one of his friends. And it was like actually people that he grew up with that were
Yeah.
there, and he was introducing
Yeah.
us like we were like family. And I just wish that a lot more of us in the United States would take that aspect of it. It's like we need to all get on one accord and be able to find some way to be able to help each other and want to see each other succeed. And
Yeah.
I would say that we have started that in the hobby and the trading card community, also in the Formula One community. But I also wanted to touch on that because when everything happened with George Floyd and, of course, COVID was happening, all sports stopped,
Right.
Including Formula One. But it was when Formula One was one of the first sports to come back after the murder of George Floyd. And when my mom, my sister, and I on Sundays, they come over and we watch the race. And then sometimes I jump in clubhouse rooms when I'm supposed to. But they come and watch the race. It was just very, it really resonated with me when the drivers kneeled down. Not all of them did, but most of them did kneel down on this end racism campaign. None of the drivers in Formula One are from the United States. We do have an American team, it's Haas, but none of them are American. And Lewis Hamilton is the only Black man that is in Formula One. And I cried. I cried because for once, America saw the struggle that Black people, the world, not America, the world saw the struggle that Black people go through.
Right.
And just for someone that does not live in the United States to say, hey, we see you. We understand what you're going through. And I was just, and I also had gained a sense of awareness of there are people of color that live all throughout the world and they experience the same things, injustices that we experience in the United States. It's just we don't have a chance to talk about it. And as I was talking to other people of color, even like in the UK, they're like, man, we go through the same stuff that y'all go through.
Right.
And to me, I felt even more connected, especially like when I even talk about my African brothers and sisters. I never, like been to Africa before. The history of America is what it is. And my name is completely chopped off. I don't know where I come from. Like when I did travel, they're like, where are you from? Where are you from? I'm like, America. They're like, no.
No.
Where
Like,
are
yeah,
you
come back.
from?
Yeah.
Where are your people from? I don't know where my people are from. And now that I have met people like you, Pete, people like Martha from Africa, all these people that I am meeting, not to mention, at some point I wasn't, I was married. My ex-husband was African.
I have
But
an
now,
ex-wife.
yes, hey, look,
I
we
know.
all have those.
Yeah,
But see, my ex-husband, he's cool. He's cool. Shout
No.
out to my ex-husband. But he's fine. But just to see the formation of community, I didn't realize until actually I got on Clubhouse how important that community is for us to be able to, and I'm talking about the community, worldly community, connecting with our brothers and sisters from the islands, connecting from our brothers and sisters in the UK and also Africa, because there's so much more out there than what we go out our front door and we see.
Yeah, absolutely. That's real important, man. See, people don't know. So Slab and I, Marcus and I are brothers, right? And
Mm-hmm.
Javid is our cousin. We're all blood related. Our fathers are from St. Lucia, born and raised in St. Lucia. The
Nice.
RPS colors are St.
Or
Lucia colors.
Yeah, St. Lucia.
You
Yep.
know what I mean? Everything is saying everything about us. You know what I'm saying? So I'll tell you a funny story about St. Lucia. So I have a sister. My dad has a daughter. My mom and dad are married now.
Mm-hmm.
And they had me and my brother together. But before my dad and mom met, when my dad was still in St. Lucia, and my mom's from Haiti, so it's cool. It's like we're first
Oh,
generation
okay.
American. Yeah,
Oh, nice.
yeah. And they met when
Yes.
they both came here to the States or whatever. But my dad, I have a sister. My dad has a daughter in St. Lucia, and she was born and raised in St. Lucia. She stayed in the islands with her mom, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in 1996, 97, we took a trip to St. Lucia. My first time ever in St. Lucia. I'm in the 8th grade. All right.
Uh-huh.
My sister's getting married. So we're going to St. Lucia, but we're leaving early December and we're not coming back till mid-January.
Oh,
And I'm in
nice.
middle school. Nice. No, I'm a spoiled privileged kid. Nice now, but not in my thinking. I'm in 8th grade. I'm on the
Uh-huh.
basketball team. There's a girl that I like. There's all my pager doesn't work in St. Lucia, Tanya.
No, it doesn't. It
Okay,
doesn't.
so I'm thinking about all these things as they're planning this trip to St. Lucia. Like, oh yeah, she my sister, but man, we in America. Like, I didn't always think the way I think now. I was real American.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
right.
real
See, I
American.
told you that
Yeah.
American mentality.
I was real
Yeah.
American and I was spoiled. I did not want to go. You know what I mean? I ended up getting over it like 2 days when it's time to go home. Like the last 2 days, I'm like, oh, I want to leave. But anyway,
That's right. Oh, it's
so
so
many
beautiful there.
yeah, so beautiful. But like I get when you were saying about the village, right? Because when you get there,
Mm-hmm.
just that whole village mentality, even if the way the people are treating you, so it actually looks like sometimes the villages you see on TV of the images you see, but it's just so wholesome. But we were fortunate because my sister at the time was one of the head execs at Sandals, the resort.
Oh, nice.
and
Yes.
and she had she had hookups, and one of her doctor had two mansions on this plot of land, and he
Oh
was
my
letting us stay
gosh.
on one of them, right? So he literally lived right next door, and I call it mansion. It was literally a 1-story house, but it had a pool in the back or a pool
You were
downstairs. Or
in St. Lucia. I don't
yeah,
care
a
if it was
house in
like a
St.
one
Lucia.
bed.
That's a
Yeah,
mansion.
it's a
Yeah, because
mansion.
everybody else in our family in St. Lucia built their own home, and it literally looks like out of bamboo sticks. I'm literally that's what their homes are. You know what I mean? They
Right,
literally built
right.
their own.
Yeah.
It looks like a jungle, but it's beautiful. So we're in this big mansion or big home. It's beautiful. Has a pool in the back. It's me,
Mm-hmm.
my younger brother, my cousin, my grandmother, my father, and my mom. It's all of us staying in this home. My
Uh-huh.
mom had messed up her knee getting off of the plane. She literally like tore her ACL, MCL as soon as we got to St. Lucia. It was just
Oh
horrible. She had messed up.
no.
My brother had the worst flu ever during that time. This was in the 90s. So
Oh
it
my
was
gosh.
a rocky first couple days or weeks there, right? Because doctor's
Mm-hmm.
appointments for my mom and my brother out of the country. It was just crazy. But
Yeah.
it was one night we were all asleep. Me and my brother and my parents were sleeping in one room on one end of the house, and my grandma and my younger cousin were sleeping in another room in the other end of the house. And somebody had broke into the house,
What? Oh
right?
my gosh.
So it was,
No.
right. Somebody earlier that day we were having fun swimming in the swimming pool. We left the doors open. Earlier that day, stuff came up missing in our house. Like my dad had a Walkman that he bought. People don't know what a Walkman is. It's a cassette tape. You put a cassette tape inside of it and you can listen. But we had bought him this one because he wanted to record the radio music from St. Lucia because that's his hometown.
Uh-huh.
So a whole bunch of stuff came up missing that was on like our front table. And we like,
Oh
man, what happened? Like
no.
somebody had to come in and steal it. Take it. We didn't think nothing of it though. So that same exact night, somebody breaks into the house. All you hear is you hear like you hear somebody like making noise, and then you hear my grandmother, Peter, Peter. My dad's name is Peter too.
Okay, okay.
Peter, 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 someone's in the house. And man, my dad, I don't know when he woke up, but he slept through the first yells and screams. So I'm like shaking my dad. My mom's like, Peter, wake up. Somebody's in the house. And my granny says, Peter, get the gun. Get the gun.
What?
We don't have a gun. We didn't have a gun. We didn't have a gun. We didn't have a gun. So at this time, I think I don't know. I guess the guy might have started getting scared, but finally my
Uh-huh.
dad starts getting out the bed. My granny's like 4'4". All right.
Uh-huh.
She went and got a frying pan and chased this man out the house. He jumped off the second floor and like landed in
Oh.
the ran into the jungle forest, whatever it is. But my granny at 4'4" and probably like 50, 60 something years, 60 something years old at the time, ran off a burglar in St. Lucia. It was
He
crazy.
is nothing to play with that little pistol.
Nothing to play. She had a frying pan. She did. We didn't really have a gun. She thought saying there was a gun was gonna scare him off, but it didn't.
That frying pan did though.
The frying pan did. Yep. But yeah, but
What? Oh
yeah, I
man.
had some stories though. And then now, yeah, my sister now has two beautiful daughters. And
Oh.
I think they're in college and teens. They're doctors and all types of stuff now. And
So have you been back to St. Lucia since
not
then?
since, not since. I
Oh,
have
you
my
have to go.
my same cousin who was in the room with my grandma, he goes almost every year. Like he's the guy that travels and does everything. You know what I mean? So yeah, I know I have to go back. I have to.
You
It's
have
on
to
my
take your
bucket list.
kids to
It's,
experience
it's
that.
Yep. And Javid was actually fortunate in 2016. He actually ran in the Olympics and represented. He ran for St. Lucia.
Did he? Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
What's his
he
name
did.
again?
Javid Best. That's Rip
David Best.
Hamilton's. Yep, he ran for St. Lucia in the same
Wow.
heat as Usain Bolt too.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, I want to go
yeah.
back and watch it now
Yeah,
because I'm like,
Rio
I know
Olympics.
him. I know him.
First
Wow.
first heat Rio Olympics. He ran against Usain Bolt. Yeah, represented St. Lucia. Yeah, dual citizenship for sure, for sure.
And when you compete in the Olympics, that's what it's all about. It's representing your country for
But isn't it
sure.
crazy? Like track and the track specifically Olympics, you train your whole life. You train for possibly thousands of days to race for 10 seconds.
10 seconds.
That's crazy.
But
That's
but
crazy.
and gosh, but that's someone's calling. That's somebody's purpose,
Yeah.
And then just also all of the lessons that they learn and the discipline that they have to have. And gosh, all the way down to sometimes injuries, having to overcome that, or having to be able to train and sometimes like not even make it to the Olympics. It's like it's just so much. I don't know. I don't know any Olympic athletes, but just when I look at them, I'm like, wow, you have that opportunity to just represent your country.
Right.
I think that especially walking in like the parade at the beginning of the Olympics, and you get to wave your country's flag, like that 10 seconds is worth it.
Yeah.
I'd do it if I had the opportunity.
For real, for real. You talked about overcoming and you talked about like overcoming things, right?
Mm-hmm.
You yourself, if you can talk to the 18-year-old, 17-year-old Tanya today, what would you tell her?
Good job.
Ooh, I like that. I like that.
Good. I would say good job, because even when I messed up, that's when I learned the most.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I learned the most. And without me messing up, gosh, I'm really sitting here trying to think, was there anything that I could take back? And you said 16, 17-year-old Tanya?
17, 18, when you had your first child, when you were having your first
when I had
baby.
my first child.
Knowing what you know now, if you can go back and tell Tanya one thing, it'd be good job.
It would be.
I like that. That's a first. I love that. Like
It
next
would
time
be.
they ask me that in the icebreaker at a professional development, I'm gonna say good job. I'm gonna
Good job.
Good job. Dude. I always be taking
Isn't that
stuff
crazy?
back,
That's the
trying to
first thing
make
that came to
myself better.
mind.
Yeah.
Good job.
You here today. Good job, bruh.
I
Shoot.
did it.
Yeah.
Because it's not, gosh, like, man, people get like just so caught up on the stuff.
Yeah.
On the stuff. It's not about the stuff, people. It's about the experiences. It's about even like the bad experiences. That is when you learn, I'm not going to do that again, or I'm going to do that differently. Whether it's, personal, relationship, even like raising children. The first child is way different than the second one. Okay. I will say that. They're like night and day difference. But then when I had the first one, I was so much younger compared to to me having my 6-year-old.
Right.
And all of the lessons that I learned with the first one, I was like, look, this isn't going to happen and this is going to happen. And I was able to, for the most part, um, rebound a whole lot easier and know exactly what to expect. And yeah, life is just all about experiences. And because I'm really sitting here trying to think. I really never gave up. I did.
Of
Gosh, I've
course not.
done.
You
It's like
couldn't.
I've done so.
I mean, you
I'm
could
just
have
really
gave up.
sitting
I
here
hate to
trying
say,
to
I
think.
hate to say you couldn't have gave up. You could have gave up, but I mean, you were a mom. Like if you would have
Yeah,
gave up, you know what I mean? Luckily, like I'm fortunate too, like even to today, that in most situations, if I need something, I can go to my like for my kids, like if I need
yeah,
somebody to watch my kids, I can go to my parents. You know what I mean?
right,
Like I'm still
right,
fortunate.
yeah,
Like I have that. You know what I mean? But at the same time, my kid, I'm all my kids have. You know what I'm saying? And my the beautiful mother, my lady, my partner, my rock
yes,
right now. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't. You know, I mentioned the ex-wife, so I got to give my current partner and
yes, you
future wife
do. Give her
all
all
the
the
flowers in the
flowers.
world. Yeah, because without her, without moms, without granny and the frying pan, I wouldn't be here today. You know what I
That's the
mean?
village.
I wouldn't even, yeah, that's the village. And also the village, I'm fortunate too because the community I grew up on, we grew up in a village to where my friend's mama could have whooped me or scolded me or taught me a lesson if I was, I was one of them kids where I never had to put those parents in that situation. But I knew if
Hmm.
I did, I was afraid. They was watching me, they gonna go tell my parents. I ain't gonna do it. Now, at least not when they watching.
Right,
You know what
right,
I
right.
mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Like
I
for real.
just, but no, that's what I would tell myself. I would tell myself, good job. And there's days where it's hard, it's hard. You're like, gosh, man, like, but the good thing is that there are only 24 hours in a day. Then it's over.
It's over.
It's over. So you can do with that what you will. You can use it as this day is a wash, but it's only like 5 hours left in it. Or you can also use it for motivation. Like, look, I only have 24 hours. I have the same exact 24 hours as Bill Gates, Elon Musk, anyone who you are, trying to aspire to get to the next level. They have those same exact 24 hours. What are you going to do with those 24 hours? There were days where I was striving, I was grinding, I was like, I'm going to get it 24 hours, I'm going to get it done. And there were some of them I was just like, man, if I could just get it through the 60 seconds, I'll be all right.
And you talked about getting through those 60 seconds. We're going to get ready to wrap up in a little bit, but I want to just to give people a perspective and people who have already been able to relate to you and gravitate towards you. You've given us so much wisdom and words of inspiration, right? And talked about several feelings and emotions. What kind of things do you do, like as far as mental wellness and mental health today, like to help you through some of these times? Like you said that you could have gave up or you have bad days, you know what I mean? Like today when you're conscious and you're on your 10 toes, what are some of the things that you do for your mental well-being?
So for my mental well-being, which I have been really trying to hone in on that, especially because when we were all in the house, we were forced to be with ourselves. We were forced to be with our significant others. We were forced to even be with our children.
With
And
our
some of us
kids?
even teach our children. So now I kind of focus and appreciate the little things, especially like when there's something that's like really big going on. I'm like, wow, I have lights. Wow.
Right.
I live in this nice house with me and my 2 kids. And I
Perspective.
don't have to, yes, just take it back to basics, like what you have. And I like to read. I love like books.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what is it? The Five Agreements.
Mm-hmm.
That's a
I've
good
heard
book
I've
to
heard it.
read.
Yep, 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 yep.
I think it's 4 or 5
I think my
agreements.
lady got
The
that book
Alchemist.
upstairs.
Please read it. Please read it and pass it on. That's what I like to do. I like to read books and pass it on.
Yeah,
The Alchemist
I
is
read that a
is
long time
another book.
ago. One of my cousins
Yep.
gave me that book. I had to be 17, 18 when I read that a long time
One
ago.
of my favorites. Anything that is written by Brene Brown.
Why?
Um,
Why Brene Brown?
Brene Brown she wrote a book called Daring Greatly.
Uh-huh.
So just the title, pretty
Daring
much
greatly. Yeah.
daring greatly, speaks for itself. But it helps you understand your relationship with yourself and
Mhm.
also with other individuals, and talks about empathy
That's man.
and
That was
and
that was a word
and
in every single one of our titles in Clubhouse.
right, empathy, 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 empathy,
Man.
empathy, empathy. But then I recently got a book from one of my friends from the UK. Shout out Ben.
Hey.
It was a Gary V book, and it is, I think it's called 11 or 12 and a half. I have it here somewhere. Actually, I have it. Well, I'm gonna grab it
Go
one
ahead, go
second
ahead, go
so
ahead, go
I,
ahead.
so I
You
know
know, it's
the
good because I got
exact
a
one.
story about you. I'm big on empathy, and people gonna think it's because of Gary V. It's not because of Gary V. Long before I heard, excuse me, long before I heard Gary V say the word empathy, this was had to be 2012, 2013. I was working for a nonprofit organization called Playworks, and that was one of our core values was empathy.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why empathy was a core value is because we use that on our school campuses to build culture and build community, to be able to understand why people feel, act, think the way they do, not to judge, to understand. Right. So that way we can agree to disagree. That way we can coexist. That way, I remember we had a training with this guy, Broderick. His name was Broderick. He used to come give professional development to 60, 70 staff members, right, who would all go on to different schools.
Mm-hmm.
And he would always say, and he grew up down south. He grew up down south, and he chose to go to Clemson for school, and he experienced a
Nice.
whole bunch of.
Okay.
But he said he experienced a whole bunch of like racism and things. You know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
then here he is teaching us about empathy, and he's saying he tried to get us to think to the point where, not literally, but okay, let's just say you have somebody who's committed any kind of crime. I'm not going to say the worst crime, whatever crime. He would be like, I want to know what he was thinking. That doesn't mean I want to have dinner with that person. Doesn't mean I want to be that person's friend, but I want to know why they did such a horrible thing. I want to know what childhood trauma, what kind of social environment, what kind of things. Because then I bet if I figured that out or knew that, I bet I would be that same person if I lived in that same situation. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? Because it's
Of
easy for
course.
us to say, "Oh, I couldn't do that. He's stupid. She foolish. She this, she that." But you wasn't raised like that person. And like you
Mm-hmm.
said, even our first child and second child is way different. So you can be raised in the same home and still come out totally
Completely
different.
different.
So
Completely different.
empathy is big.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. And also developing like an understanding. I know when I read the book, is it the 4 or 5 agreements? Can't remember.
Mhm.
But it also spoke about not taking things personal.
Mhm.
And that's very hard. Very hard. And it was, I really didn't put that into like practice until I did become a hygienist, because there would be times where people would come in and they would see my face. They would be pissed. And I'm like, I didn't even say hi yet. And
Man.
they're like, oh my gosh. But it is because they've had like maybe a bad experience, or maybe their dog died
Or
the
maybe
day
they were
before,
raised that way
or
and
they
they
were
just
raised
didn't
that way.
know. If
Yeah,
we were
like you
raised in this
don't.
box to hate or to not know, we would be the same way.
Way, right. And I'm like, gosh, like what is going on? But it's just like trying to be and have a positive attitude is impossible for anybody. But the more positivity that you do have, and you're more like, the energy, the positive energy that you have, it radiates.
Yeah.
And that's what people see. And that's what people get. And at the end of the day, no matter how much money we make, no matter all the people that we've talked to, everyone that you come in contact with are always going to remember the way you made them feel. Good, bad, whatever. And for me, if I can, when I do come in contact with people, make them feel something positive, then I feel like I could leave this world a better place, you know?
Yeah, well, I can speak for myself, Tanya. You make me feel. No, no, I'm gonna keep. I'm gonna let me put it into words, right? Let me put
Okay.
it into words and feel because you said it. You said the important thing is about those feelings and those emotions, and that's why throughout all these shows when we have people on, I try and ask as many times as possible. How does that feel like? What were you thinking? Why? What emotions were you going through? Because aside of the hobby, every human can relate to a feeling and emotion. So
Absolutely.
whether they don't care about F1 or the Jordan Flair or anything else we were talking about, they understand crying, they understand happiness, they understand laughs, they understand joy. You know what I mean? You made me feel like, and this is in the best way possible. I mean this in the best way. You made me feel like I didn't appreciate the women in my life the way I should have.
Oh, I love it. I'll
Like,
take
let me
it.
be
I'll take
accountable. I got
it.
to be accountable, right? I got to be
Yes.
accountable because it comes to a transition where, okay, and I was talking to this with Cindy Dick. She was on the GOAT, the legend, Auntie Sis, one of the greatest women collectors in the world. She
Yes.
collects
Hey,
vintage
Auntie, what's
cars.
up?
When I first started making it intentional that I learn about women's collectors and women's cars, it was because my daughter came into here and I didn't have enough women representation, and I'm an educator, and there's probably more girls at the school than boys. I don't have enough. Doesn't mean I
Hmm.
don't value women. I don't have enough. So it's like, okay, now in the hobby, I have to I want to make this initiative and this effort to make sure I'm intentional when the time is right and in this space, you know what I'm saying? To make sure that we always walk with everybody, you know what I
That's
mean? And bring
right.
everybody along with us, those people who are supposed to be there. So then when I look at you, when I look at Cindy Dick, Ashley, so many other people, it's like, all right, if I'm holding these women accountable here, and if I'm holding these women up to high standards here, right? Let me
Hmm.
make sure I'm doing the same thing in my life. Because while I say I am, right, you have to make sure. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying? 'Cause
yes.
yeah, I have to make sure. I have to make sure after this that I go in there and I check in before I start another one. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I have to make just certain things that you do to show people that you care and that you
Hmm.
love them and you value them more than just saying it. You know what I mean? So you make me like hold that mirror up to my face in real life. You know what I mean? To be like,
Good.
okay, let me make sure I'm treating the women that are closest to me first.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And if I do make a mistake, if I do something that's wrong, just make a mistake. I don't do wrong anymore. I'm 38. Ain't no excuses for wrong. I make some little mistakes. You know what I
You'll be
mean?
wait. You'll be surprised though. Those you call them missteps at this point.
Missteps. Yeah, yeah. Like I still misstep, but I don't intentionally do wrong things. Like I'm not,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna do anything. If I do something, it's like, oh, I wasn't thinking. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? It was thought, but now I'm much more accountable when it comes to that. I make sure I'm helping out more in the household. You know what I mean? Because I can't just talk it and walk it in the hobby and not walk it in my real life because then my life's gonna crumble. You know what I'm saying? My lady ain't gonna go for it. She's not gonna support anything I have going on here because it's gonna be fake and
I
phony.
like her. I
You
like
know
her.
what I
Never
mean?
met her
Yeah.
before, but I like her.
You'll meet her in Vegas. She was
Okay.
pumped because
Okay.
she was
Can't
supposed to come to
wait.
Vegas. Yeah, she's gonna come. Her date's probably gonna change because she had taken off of work to go, and
I know
then
it.
she had found somebody to cover her, so now she can't get those days back. So it's kind of a bummer. Now she's gonna
Yeah.
do something with the kids, but she'll be there. She'll still be there in March. But yeah, thank you for that. You've taught me so much about F1, more than F1. The most important thing, no, because I'm not going to act like I've been following F1 ever since I've met you. But one thing I have been following more than anything is Sir Lewis Hamilton outside of the car, though, because that's what relates to me. You know what I mean? And the number 44, that was Javid's number when he played in the NFL. That was my first basketball number in school. Number 444, that's a deep number. That's our family number, 4 and 44.
Wow. Look
Like, it's
at
crazy.
that.
Long before Sir Hamilton, but the philanthropist he is, the advocate he is, the human he is, how selfless he is, how giving he is, how much he sacrifices. That part is what I have taken in and what I try and embody now in my role, you know what I mean, in the places where I feel it can fit in. And that's what you've given me. So thank
Mm.
you for that because it touches so many other children in the whole community I'm with that now okay, now I can look up to Sir Lewis Hamilton. You know what I mean? Now I can use his name, Stephanie Travers. Oh man, come on now.
Talk
Like
about it.
talk about just so many, there's so much more people, you know what I mean, that we can
Jake
use to learn from.
Paul,
Man.
James Denore, like yes, all of these people of color in motorsport, and yes, and oh gosh, how can I forget Jake? He is the one who designed the End Racism campaign. So yes,
Man.
absolutely, absolutely,
Yeah.
Peter. We could go on and on and
We
on and
can.
on talking about it, but
We
I just
can.
thank you so much for having me on your show and just talking like Formula One, car collecting, and the main thing that I really wanted to touch on was how important community is. And it doesn't matter, like, like exactly like what part of the community that you are in. I mean, I love sports, but I watch Formula One more than I watch any other sport. But just being a part of that community where you can just go back and ask people, hey, what did I miss? Can I catch up on something, or get knowledge on the stories of these athletes, because they're much more than the sport that they're in. Get to know them as like individuals. And that is where the empathy comes in. And that is where, especially when they don't perform as well as you think that they would, or if something does happen that is just something that you completely don't even expect the outcome to be. And when I speak about Formula One, I speak about the World Championship. But then it all goes back to the type of person that Lewis Hamilton is, and how much he will keep pushing and keep fighting, and how much that he won't give up. And also the community that he has around him, his mom, his dad, his siblings, and how much they lift him up. And some people have that and some people don't. But if you do, just be grateful that you do have that.
Definitely go tell them you love them, and don't only tell them,
That's
show
right.
them. And it's never too late. You could have made a mistake. Like I said, we all make missteps and mistakes, and we're
That's right.
not thoughtful, right? So man, go do that. I was just telling a story about somebody last week where I was wrong with two of my sixth grade students. I just went bad on them. You know what I mean? Because they weren't where I thought they were supposed to be. And these are two kids who I can always trust. You know what I mean? But I had to, luckily for me, they pulled me to the side before I left campus. Otherwise, I would have been down this whole week thinking about how I treated them. But they love me so much. And they said, Coach, can I explain to you how I felt when you did that to me? And this is why this was going on. Like, we had those type of conversation. I tell my kids every day I love you, because I don't know if I'm gonna be back there tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? I want them, like you said, I want them to remember. I know a lot of these kids don't get told that. You can tell by their reaction when you tell them sometimes. You can tell that from adults. You can tell what kind of a childhood or what kind of home you grew up in. You know what I'm saying? If I tell my mom and my dad I love you, they're not gonna say it back. It's not because they don't love me. It's not because they don't love me. They didn't grow up in that type of environment.
Okay,
that's not the way love was given and shown. You know what I mean? I adapted that through seeing others, watching others, in the way it made me feel watching it and knowing it. So I'm like, I want to give that back. You know what I mean? So like my mom might say it out of, you know what I'm saying, in some slick way, you know what I'm saying, from time to time. But
as long as she says it, but she shows it too.
We know it.
Yeah.
They don't ever have to. We know it. But to those kids who don't know that, as a kid, I didn't know that because I didn't hear it. I used to hear, you're not doing good. Do your Peter Lucian, clean your stupid. You don't know how to do this.
That was the accent.
Yeah, Peter Lucian, how you gonna tell me I don't know how to do English work? You don't even know English. How you gonna tell me this? Come on, mama. You yelling at me? Tell me you love me. Like, I didn't hear these things, so I like to tell these kids that, because I don't know if they hear it. And then I like to show them, and then I like to show them too. Damn, I love you, but I made a mistake. I told you I love you. Then I got at you crazy. It made you question my love. So now I have to show you how to mend up for that. You know what I mean? And it's not just by saying sorry. I can't make that same mistake again. You know what I mean? I might make a different one, but I got to step it up. If I really love you like that, you know what I mean? It's a lot of lessons that these kids have taught me, man. I'm fortunate to still be in this field, because it could easily be I don't have a job if it wasn't for some of these parents and kids, that, you know what I mean, that learn and grow with me.
For you.
Yeah.
Also, but then also too, it is your purpose, and that's where you're supposed to be. And you have to look at life like that too. When an opportunity is no more, that you do have to move on, you can't look at it necessarily like as a failure. You have to look at it as, there's another opportunity out there. I just have to be willing and open to it, and always just be, I mean, if I have not learned anything through this whole pandemic, that's what I have learned. I have always been the one that's like, known to be like just stay in kind of like bad situations. Like, no, I'm going to tough this out, and I'm going to get through this. But sometimes walking away is the right thing to do, because it opens your life up to new and better opportunities. So,
Yeah, that's game right there. Well, Tanya, thank you so much. I don't want to rush you off.
No, it's okay. I actually have today. is the first day that I started back to school.
Oh yeah, so you probably got you still
So
gonna
yes,
be.
I do have a little bit of homework to do. And I have to make sure, okay, with little one, he's quiet. So I'm hoping that he should be asleep now because he has school in the morning. But I did want to tell you that Gary Vee book,
Uh-huh.
it is called 12 and a half. It's called Leveraging the Emotional Ingredients Necessary for Business Success.
Mm.
So if you haven't read that book, please do. I have it right here. It's not a long read.
Oh, that's an easy one right
Yeah,
there.
it's an easy read, but he does an amazing job going through all of the 12 and a half ingredients that he feels that will help set anyone up for business success. And reading the book, i I am definitely invested. Gary Vee, he's cool.
Yeah, yeah. Shout out Gary V. Gary V.
Yes,
Solid. I
he is
like it. I
very
like. I
solid,
like the way
solid
that guy
dude.
moves.
But you know what, Pete? Thank you so much for having me on the
Yep.
show.
Yep.
And I can't wait to see what other guests that you do have. And if there's any way that Women Watching Sports Live, Apex Takeover, me personally can help you with your mission, please reach out to me and let me know.
Man, I need. We need to get either collectively all the women with sports on here. Maybe we can
Oh
look
yeah,
that
they
up
would love it.
sometime. And then I would like to, if that with that same energy, since y'all are gonna work on that, I want to work on bringing a group or a collective into one of y'all rooms because I haven't, me, I haven't been in club. If it's for y'all, I'll hop in there. But I've done turned all my notifications off. It's actually on my
Uh-huh.
other phone that only has Wi-Fi. So you know what I mean? I'm really not even in the clubhouse world like that anymore. But for y'all, you know what I mean? I definitely want to engage more people because I know what it can do for them because I know what it did for me. So thank you, Tanya.
Absolutely. I would say open invitation for you and everyone else, like two other gentlemen in RPS. Please mark your calendars for the first race weekend that we'll have. It'll be coming up on Clubhouse. I'll be posting it on my Instagram and other
Okay.
social media that I'm affiliated with. But that room is going to be amazing. We are already, talking, lining up some guests and people that are going to be coming in and a couple other things, but gosh, I really can't say too much. But please
Ooh.
make it a point to be in that very first for women watching sports live Formula One edition room for the
Hey.
2022 season. It is going to be a
Hey.
banger. Okay.
Hey. You heard it here first.
Yes. So
You
I'm
heard
gonna
it
go
here
ahead and
first.
get out of here.
All
Thank you
right,
so
Tanya.
much, Pete.
Yep.
Give
Blessings to you and
give
yours.
RPS all of my positive vibes, and I will see you guys in Las Vegas.
Yep. Peace, Tanya. Have a good one. Thank you,
Bye. You
everybody, for
too.
coming in. We appreciate y'all.
Yes.
Love
Thank
y'all.
you.
Go tell somebody you love them. Make them feel loved and valued. We'll see y'all later. Naka coming on in about 15 minutes. We running this right back again, right? So
Oh my
we'll see
gosh.
y'all in a
Go
little
say
bit.
hi
Yeah,
to your family. Bye,
I
Pete. See
am.
you later.
I know.
All
I know.
right.
Before I get in trouble.
Bye. All right.
All right, y'all. Peace. Hey, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate y'all. Right back again. Literally 14 minutes. Maybe 20. Maybe 20. Let me go in the house and make sure everything's smooth. Let me go get this permission slip extended. I'll be back. Hopefully.